in the Catalyst of Change series.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to our Catalyst of Change Women Leaders in Science webinar. At CIMMIT, we launched the TED Talk meets Fireside Chat style series now more than over a year ago because we want to feature women leaders and their stories around leadership. Each and every one of you needs to construct a multifaceted leadership profile, a way of doing, a way of working. And we hope those stories, that broader representation and gender balance, can be achieved in science, and we need to therefore provide opportunities to listen to the stories of different women leaders and use what they have as an experience to construct our own leadership style. In this series, we highlight women that are leaders in all sorts of capacities, fields, and disciplines, because we believe you can't be what you can see, and that leadership styles can take many different forms. Today, I am honored to have an exceptional catalyst of change for you. Enid Perez-Lara is our 34th Catalyst of Change speaker. Is currently the industry engagement manager of Agronomix Software. She has dedicated over 24 years to plant breeding, working across various crops, and initially was focusing on tobacco actually as her significant plant model. Her career spans multiple countries where she has continually advanced agricultural practices through technology. And it is deeply committed to fostering diversity and inclusion, and that's of course why we have her here. Her values and those of CIMMIT fully align, particularly by increasing the visibility of women in breeding and promoting inclusive practices within the plant breeding and software sector. Let that exactly also be what CIMMIT, and as expressed in our 2030 strategy, is all about. At Agronomix Software, she collaborates closely with clients worldwide, helping them maximize the benefits of plant breeding software. She's also a co-founder and therefore an entrepreneur of the RANDI, an organization that facilitates knowledge exchange and technology transfer in plant science, crop management, plant protection, and agriculture in general. Through her work, Enid builds meaningful relationships and champions suitable practices in research and development. As you can see, we have champions, we have catalysts of change from all kinds of backgrounds and with all kinds of activities. I'm sure that you will enjoy as much as I do and learn a lot from Enid's outstanding leadership experience. With no further ado, I would like to give a warm welcome to this distinguished speaker and hand over to you, Enid. Please go ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Enid Perez-Lara, as I was introduced before. I am the Industry Engagement Manager for Agronomix Software and co-founder of RANDI, a platform I'm very proud of. It supports women in science and also young scientists. So I would like to talk a little bit about my experience, but first of all, I would like to thank CIMMIT, Jennifer, Paola, Renata, Bram, and all the team for allowing me to be here. I'm very humbled to be here today, not even in my wilder dreams. As a child in Cuba, I will dream to be here today talking to CIMMIT, an organization that is known across the world and an organization that I deeply respect as well. So I will tell you my story. It's a story of a person that has gone navigating through the world with different crops, different countries, and different experiences and industries. I will tell you also about the lessons I've learned, the setbacks, and the little triumphs that I have. I divide my story into 4 acts, if it's a theater, or in 4 seasons, if it was a Netflix show. The first one is a young scientist navigating a male-dominated sector. The second one is a woman and a mother struggling as an immigrant in a different country with a different language. The third is the transition from academia to the industry, which is quite challenging as well. And finally, that aha moment in which I was able to look back and realize how I could help other people facing those different challenges as well. My career began in Cuba as a scientist. I was working, as was mentioned before, with a model plant, Nicotiana tobacco, in the tobacco industry in Cuba. That is a very traditional industry, male-dominated, with very well-defined roles, specifically for women, and also that has destroyed the lives of some breeders, women breeders as well. But I was very fortunate. I was under the guidance of a plant breeder, Humberto Garcia Cruz. I need to say his name because I owe everything to him, I guess. So this person pushed my boundaries and pushed me to complete a very well developed personal development plan. And that took me to do a master in part-time basis, being a full-time employee, and complete the program in the same time that a full-time student will do. And also to start my PhD studies in a sandwich type, collaborating with a research institute in Venezuela, under the guidance of Dr. Diogenes Infante. And I learned a lot during this time. So I would do my field work in Cuba, and I will do my molecular and lab work in Venezuela. It was a wonderful time where I learned a lot. So during my time as a tobacco researcher is the time where I shaped my technical skills, and I did everything that is possible to do in plant breeding, or all the techniques that surround plant breeding, like plant pathology, cell biology, molecular markers. I also isolated and worked with proteins. I did a lot of cytogenetics as well, and at the same time that I was doing my breeding program. And during this time, I learned a lot as well about the whole tobacco industry, from the seed to the commercialization. I had the opportunity to meet legends like Alejandro Robaina. And then through the farmers, I learned that you need a lot of skills and passion and resilience to be successful in an industry. And during these steps as well is when I decided that I needed to go beyond this industry. I wanted to do quite more than just a single industry. So I was working in my PhD in Cuba when I had the opportunity to immigrate to Canada as a permanent resident. So I had the opportunity to go from the third world to the first world. So I was put in front of a fork in my career. I needed to select to follow my family or to follow my career. And I decided for the first. I decided to go with my family. So I decided to take the risk and move abroad to start a thrilling and terrifying life, because I left behind my family, my support network, but also I opened the door to new opportunities and challenges. As an immigrant, I experienced cultural, linguistic, and professional barriers. My qualifications were put under the magnifying glass, but I felt confident of my knowledge. The only credential that I have at the time was my knowledge. So I was very lucky again to find a job within few months of starting my immigration journey. And I remember my first job in Canada was with a plant physiologist. And I deeply respect plant physiology, but that's not my thing. I prefer plant breeding. So I faced this challenge as if it was a plant breeding program. So I look at around, I look at in all the angles and decided to face it as if it was a plant breeding program. So I did it with passion. I did my best. but I kept looking for an opportunity in plant breeding. Actually, when I decided to immigrate to Canada, I remember I was in one of those interviews where you go and you show that you can immigrate and you will be successful abroad. And I remember the person interviewing me telling me that was a professional suicide. So I was very scared in the very beginning, but after receiving these opportunities and being able to show my skills and see that I could thrive there as well, I felt more confident. So 11 months after moving to Canada, I received a contract, a full-time job contract with a professor at the University of Alberta. He was a plant breeder in wheat, by the way. And I started working with him. I remember when I started working with him, he had like a paragraph in his biography in the webpage of the university that said that he didn't have a molecular lab. And well, a year after I joined them, that was not true anymore. We had a very well-established lab. We were able to do many things and support many students across the years. We released, at the time that I left the university, we had released 7 wheat varieties among 9 varieties that the university has released over 100 years. So they were not my varieties, but I feel very proud of them as well. So again, I think it was luck, but can be other things as well, right? So it can be that I was well prepared, or I was overconfident that I will succeed in this transition. So after I completed my PhD in the University of Alberta on the part-time basis with my supervisor, I felt that it was time to transition to the real world. So I decided to transition from the academia to the industry. And I thought it would be a straightforward transition because the skills are the same, right? But in the academia, you are taught to question everything. So you question everything. And in the industry, you are more focused on finding solutions and delivering value. So I need to rewire myself, rethink and reframe what I knew, and adapt myself to new approaches. The biggest lesson I learned here is that I had a lot of transferable skills like problem solving, leadership, resiliency. So I was able to challenge the status quo within the industry and be successful with an individual breeding program. During this transition as well, I found that my most powerful skill was to find or to fill the gap between science and applications. So applications in the true world. I decided to complete a master in business administration. During that time, I founded or co-founded Randy with a group of women and the support of other women as well that work as advisors. And then I decided that I was ready to do something else, to make my work more impactful in the life of other people and touch quite more breeding programs than a single one where I was working on. So this is when Agronomix opened this position, and I was completely ready to take the leap and go with them. So with Agronomix, I'm able to do many things. One of them is connect science with solutions and support breeders across several crops around the world. And over this time, my journey has evolved from breeding to helping others succeed through innovation and collaboration, either talking about software in conferences or about AI in different seminars, or advocating for women in science, speaking about diversity, mentoring younger scientists is something I deeply enjoyed. And also I have created impact at another scale that is different than the one that I was able to create in just by working in a single breeding program. And with Randy, my part-time hobby or entrepreneurship, I'm able to build bridges between knowledge and innovation and help others at the same time. From this journey, I learned to embrace change. Every step outside my comfort zone helped me towards growing. I also learned to stay humble, to work hard and collaborate with others. And this is the only way to go further. Collaborating will take you further than ego all the time. In other area, I learned as well to build bridges. Success isn't about climbing a ladder alone. It is about collaborating with others and lifting others. So whether you are starting your journey or you are at the fork, as I was at some point or at many points in my career, remember that all the limits you see are the limits that you put yourself. Be brave enough to challenge them. Do not try to fit into a mold. Break it. Challenge the status quo. Someone said once, if your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. So dream big, act with purpose, and trust your ability to navigate the unknown. Believe me, it is possible. And thank you once again for allowing me to share my story. I hope it inspires you to write your own with courage and conviction.
Hi, Enid. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm a woman working in the field of science and agricultural development, and I wanted to interview you because of your unique perspective and your remarkable work in recognizing and celebrating the contributions of women in science. Well, while I focus on engagement from a technology perspective, and you from a scientific one, both of both of our roles share common ground in building bridges, fostering collaboration, and driving impactful initiatives within our respective domains. As Latin American women, you from Cuba and I from Colombia, we bring a unique cultural perspective to the field of science and technology. I believe our shared experiences as women from this vibrant region further enrich this dialogue. I was
For sure.
particularly inspired on how your article spotlight remarkable women who made impactful advancements in plant genetics despite facing significant barriers. Their stories not only honor their legacy, but also serve as an inspiration for future generations. Through this conversation, I hope to explore the intersections of our work, learn from your experiences, and together highlight the critical role of women in shaping the future of science and technology. To start, could you share what motivated you to write this article and what you hope readers will take away from it?
For sure. So I'm have been always following the career of other women. So when I was in tobacco, I will follow role models. Then I switched to wheat and was the same. So I every time I found different women that were work as role models for me. And sometime last year, I think I came across an article that talked about the top 20 plant breeders. And instinctively, I went to look for a woman in the article, and I couldn't find any. And I was like, how come if I have found so many in the history, right? So I recall the stories of Rosalind Franklin or who was discovered the structure, actually was one of the discoverers of the DNA structure, or Jocelyn Bell that discovered the pulsar stars. So I was like, probably there are many women behind these 20 top men. So I started writing my own article. And I started doing research. I started by the people I knew already that were my role models. And during that time, when I was writing my article, I went to Brazil to attend the conference. And in that conference, for my surprise and pleasure as well, they were celebrating and honoring Dr. Maria do Carmo Bassos. I forgot her second name. I'm sorry about that, Maria. So I was like positively surprised by this, and I approached her and talked to her, and I was fascinated for her achievements. She had more than 70 varieties, and she was not in any list. And I'm very against lists because generally they don't get the real people that are behind the scenes, right? That's one of the things that I'm challenging right now. I'm writing an article about these kind of things, like how it bias, and also not discredit, but it doesn't show who has actually an impact. So after meeting her, she also mentioned other people she knew that I was not aware, because she's in a completely other field. She worked with trees, and I have been generally in either vegetables or extensive crops. So she inspired me a lot to keep going. And yeah, so in between, many things inspired me to write this article, actually, like the lack of knowledge about real people doing breeding, and women specifically.
Yes, when I read it, I was amazed because it's very inspirational. The different stories that are there in the within the article.
Thank you.
And now I have another question. From your perspective, how has the role of women in agricultural science evolved over the years? And what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for women entering the field today?
So before, in my article, I mentioned one of the scientists. Her name was Catherine Haynes. So she was always under or behind the scenes compared to her like, not her supervisor, but probably the head of the department. So probably she was a trailblazer anyways, because she kept working, and she was one of the first professors in the topic, and at the time it was in the 40s. And after that, we see, for example, figures like Barbara McClintock. So people have changed over the years. Like, they have faced challenges, they have stayed, they have fight for what they think is correct, they have defend their points, and they have even win the Nobel Prize with like Barbara McClintock, like I think was 1983. So things have been changing over the years. These people set up an example for the world. We get more credit later on. We can be first authors. We can be the professor. We can be everything. I think that the doors are open for younger scientists. I'm very, very hopeful, and I have all the faith in the younger generation of scientists that they will be 50-50. I don't want women's superiority. It's not my goal, but I want to see like us sharing 50-50 every single position. And I think never was a better time than now. So I see a lot of possibilities. I don't see many barriers anymore to women in science. So I really encourage them to just step forward and don't feel afraid of being in a spotlight. It is okay. Like, you don't born confident. You build confident just acting, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we need to believe in us and work for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then, what do you hope to be able to say you were most proud of in your career?
So when I was invited to this seminar, I don't think I've done like exceptional things. One thing that you learn in science is like, you just add a little bit. So you just contribute. Most of us won't win the Nobel Prize, right? But I would say looking back, I don't see big things, but what inspires me right now, and I think I can do better in the future, and actually I keep writing articles of this kind, is to inspire other people, inspire your younger generations, and especially coach the new generation of scientists. Like every time I participate in a trade show or a congress, I try to approach the younger people, ask questions about their posters, and show real interest in what they are doing, because the younger generations need support from us, especially girls in agriculture, right? So I'm not super proud of everything, but what I want is to do with intention, go forward, and do more to inspire these people to contribute to science. I'm sure they will do great.
Okay, from my perspective, I feel like you should be proud of what you are doing because you are the voice for those women, the they don't want to talk or they prefer not to do it. So you are that
Mhm.
voice, and of course, girls, women in the field, and not only in the field in science, people around the world wants to hear from those stories and learn from what you have told us during this interview. Now, as someone with a deep understanding of agricultural science and advocacy, how do you see your role in amplifying the work of others and driving change within your organization and beyond?
So again, everything I can do is like contribute a little bit. So I try to talk a lot. I'm talkative by nature, so I try to talk a lot. In every time I have an opportunity, I will go out and speak of all the opportunities we have. Also in social media, we can find a place for us to amplify anything that you feel that you should. For example, time to time, I just not talk about my work or about agronomics, something that I love to do because I really love what I do, but also sharing, like, for example, opportunities for women, opportunities for career, openings of PhD studies somewhere. So I cannot do much again, but I can amplify the information that exists already and make it available to people who are engaged with me in social media. So that's one thing that I think is a positive impact in other people's, because not everybody has access to information. Again, I'm from Cuba, so I didn't have access to a lot of information in long time ago when I was a young scientist. But now I have better access to information, and the best thing I can do is amplify it for those who don't have as much access as I do.
Great. If you could go back and do anything differently, would there be things you would do differently in your career path?
I don't think so. I think we are a mix of our achievements and mistakes. So everything I have done brought me here. I'm very happy of my present. I should tell that it's not just because of me. I have been again fortunate that have um, the right mentors. Every time I didn't have the right mentors, I walk away from it. So I wouldn't discard that even, because that took me somewhere else, right? So I I have the right partner as well, a partner that has support all my career. So I don't think I will do something differently. I'm very happy of both the black and the white, the mistakes and the triumphs. So not a bit. I wouldn't change anything.
Great. Yeah, because that's like the foundation to be where you are at this moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What does leadership mean to you?
For me, leadership is about collaboration and inclusion. So a good leader is that one that brings the team together and create a safe space for everybody to be here. So that's my favorite type of leadership, and I think is the one that inspire innovation. Like if you don't hear everybody in your team and you don't take into account all the difference and all the angles, you don't drive innovation.
Yeah.
So yeah, a leader that includes people and hear everybody
Yeah,
and
to
make everybody
inspire.
hear. Yeah. inspire everybody and brings out the best of everyone, right?
Yeah, and being an example for them. So if you do it and you do it proper, uh, they will follow. They will
Yeah,
follow you.
yeah, for sure.
Yes. Can you talk a bit about experiences you've had in the corporate sector with leadership and career development?
Yes. One example I can give you is like in corporate, generally, or sometimes the place is not for you. Like sometimes there is not a position for you. The thing you dream to do is not available. But I want to tell everybody that the tools are there, and then you need to speak out for yourself. You need to tell your manager, you need to approach your leaders and tell them what you want to do or where you want to go. And honestly, most people will hear you. I have found people who didn't want to hear, but most of them do. Most of leaders, if they are leaders, not managers,
Yeah.
because it's not the same thing, but more leaders will try to let you develop your skills and develop your go to wherever you want to go. Of course, is that aligned with the mission of the company, right? So if
Yeah,
you align with the mission, you will
and that
find.
part is very key, you know, in the if the values of the company are aligned or with yours, and then everyone is like going in the same way. So
Yes,
that way, yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I one got a I was in a talk and I asked a question to this guy because sometimes everybody has different ideas, right? Like there is younger people that has some aspirations, other people have other aspirations. You have the older people that have done the same for 30 years and they don't want to change. And the guy gave me this example about the mission-driven companies or organizations. And it was like telling people this plane is going to Miami. If you are not going to Miami, it's the right time to deplane, right? So if your ambitions, if your goals align well with the company, feel free to go and speak to your leaders, and they will guide you in that path that you want to pursue.
Yeah, personally, that happened to me many years ago because I started in the private sector, and then when I had the opportunity to join this international centers for research, I felt in love, you know, for the mission, what we are doing here. So I believe if you there's a phrase in your article, and I really liked it. It says, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I
Exactly. Yeah.
feel that's really true, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, then, could you share a bit about your research process for the article? Were there any unexpected insights or stories that you uncovered while writing about these pioneer women?
Yes. I did a lot of reading, of course, and I discovered a lot of good things about people. I try to don't say the bad things that those women suffer. Some of them, not all of them, but um, yeah, it was surprising how the things have evolved, and that everybody had different paths. Some people have stayed in the same company or in the same organization for years, and they have thrived and they have gone to places. Other people have been here and there. I have been here and there. So I sometimes feel very frustrated because I was like, oh, I have stayed longer in companies, like 10 years or so, but I was also troubled sometimes because sometimes I don't stay like a lot, right? So I saw that many people have thrived through that as well. So that was a surprise to me, and it was good to write the article and see that okay, you don't need to stay in the same organization for 30 years to be fulfill your dreams or something, right? Sometimes changing is what actually fulfill your career. And you can have the path or you can change the path, but you cannot change the goal. Or either way, some people just change the goal, and that's everything is right. There is not in between these women, there is not a single path. Some people immigrated and stayed abroad. Some people immigrated to United States, for example, from India, the case of Dr. Guha, and then she went back to India. So there are diverse stories behind those women. They did different things. They found different ways to do it. They work with guys, they work alone. But at the end of the day, they all are remarkable. And this is very important for me to find out that it doesn't matter the path, it doesn't matter what you do. If you stay focused on your goal and then you go after your dreams, that's perfectly fine.
Yes, of course. And sometimes lives give you different opportunities, and it depends on you if you want to take it or let them go. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's part of the process, I think. Yeah. I also migrated from Colombia to Mexico. Even though we speak the same language, the culture is very different, you know. So we need to understand how it works, how the culture is, and then starting from there, you need to like reborn, you know, because
Mhm.
it's you keep being you, but you need to redo things the way you were used to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that even small changes can be big for us.
Yeah, I know. And why do you think it's essential to spotlight the contribution of women in fields like plant breeding and genetics? And how can storytelling like yours help inspire the next generation of agricultural scientists?
Yes, that's very interesting. So when I wrote my article, at some point, I don't know if it's in the version of Seed Today, but I said that it's not a ranking and it's open to be growing, right? Like, so I think it's important that people, when you see an article like this and you know somebody who need to be spotlighted there, please send a message to the editor or to the author, and then let them know that there is somebody else who deserves to be in that list. And I think by portraying these examples of people and telling their story, this inspire people automatically. They need to be themselves reflected. If somebody tell me a few years ago that I would be here talking to in a seminar at CIMMYT, I won't believe it. Like, I had the pleasure to visit CIMMYT in 2006, but I didn't speak at all. Like I just presented my poster and I was afraid to talk to people. So just by portraying the story of other people and telling them that there is nothing impossible is the way to inspire the younger generation, specifically girls.
Yeah, and I love that. There's nothing impossible, and that at the end, that's true. If you believe in something, if you have a dream, go for it, you know, and I'm sure you will get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I don't have more questions, but I would like to thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights and experiences today. It has been incredibly inspiring to learn about your journey and the impactful work you're doing.
Thank
Now,
you.
I think I'll give the floor to Daniela. So she's going to ask people. She's going to share the question that were shared with in Slido.
Thank you,
Hi,
Daniela.
Enid,
Hi.
Paola. Thank you so much for having this rich conversation. I would like to open the floor for questions from the audience. I believe we have some questions already. Let me open the Slido. Okay, Enid, the first question we have is, can you talk a bit about the cultural differences in science that you have encountered and how you navigated them?
Yes, for sure. So I will tell first I will tell that my journey differently. For example, Paola, It was a multilingual, right? So I needed to go different places. When I left Cuba, most people who live in Cuba are Cubans, differently than Canada. It's a very diverse place. So I needed to learn the ethics of Canada that was differently than Cuba. It's not that we are bad or they are better. It doesn't mean like that. But it's definitely different. A thing that you will tell in a seminar in Cuba is almost impossible to say it out loud in Canada, for example. I also came to Spain after my PhD, and it was also different. It's the same that Paola was mentioning, right? Like even within the same language, is a different place. So the ethic of different places change, the language change. When you are not articulated in a language, I will always have a very strong accent, for example. And my English was terrible when I landed in Canada. Actually, I ended up in English Canada, but I was supposed to live in the Francophone area of Canada. So my English was terrible. And many times I needed to write the things I was thinking or explain somebody a calculation, because people, when you're not articulated, people wouldn't believe you, right? So you need to sound very confident as well. So I needed to change many things that I would do in Cuba to the way that I did it in Canada, or the way that I do in Spain. For example, in Canada and Cuba, you treat your supervisor, you call them for their first name. Here in Spain, it's a different story. Like, you can call the people as well for their first name, but it's more shocking. It's more disrespectful, right? Like, it's not the you need to treat people of usted, right? So there are many things, many little things that I could make a list. I could write an article about it actually, and explain the difference between the both of them. But yeah, definitely I cannot think of many things right now. But the ethics of different places is different, and the way of speaking in different environments is as well something to take into account at the time of moving cultures.
Sure. And I imagine that would be also a challenge, right?
Yeah.
To change culture so abruptly. Um, we have another question. Uh, and the question is, as a woman in science who does speak English as a native language, I so admire both of you and your ability to communicate in a second language. Do you have any tips for people on how to help avoid or fix miscommunications that may happen as a result of being lost in translation?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good one. Yes. So I at the very beginning, I got lost in translation a lot. I still do. Because in Spanish we talk a lot, and English is more straightforward language. I'm not there yet to say very little things and think that I explain everything. But over the time you get used, it's a lot of repetition of what you hear, and try to copy your supervisor, your advisor, a friend of yours that is like super articulated, and then you try to reduce the chances of screw up a conversation just because you are explaining too much. Again, I'm not there yet. I speak a lot in English. I try to give a lot of explanation that I'm not needed. And I don't know if I will overcome that in my lifetime. I try. I'm taking a lot of courses on public speaking, but at the end of the day, I start telling my story, and then I forget about the public speaking and the techniques that I learned. So yeah, a thing will be that, like, adapt try to adapt to the language. And if that's not possible, if you are an English speaker and you are trying to speak Spanish, and you speak in like you do in English with short, right? Keep it short. That's perfectly okay as well. If people don't understand, they will ask you, right? I think it's easier from English to Spanish than from Spanish to English, because or at least in Canadian English. People look at you and then you need to read in their face that they didn't understand what you were trying to say, because they will never tell you that you, what are you trying to tell me?
I can imagine. Thank you, Enid. The next question is, as you are now in the fourth act of your career, as you mentioned, are there any lessons you've learned that you would impart to your younger self?
Yes, for sure. Many things that I won't change things, but I will teach me a lot of things. I will teach me a lot of self-confidence. And when you start your career, you are desperate to progress. And then when you are advancing in your career, you want to slow down, right? Because you notice that you're getting older. Some things are getting also dated. Definitely the people that come to work with me now, like the younger people at Agronomix, for example, they know things I never got to know. Like, for example, genomic selection, those things are things that are new. So I try to cope up with those things, try to learn them fast. But of course, I'm not younger anymore to learn them as fast as these younger people do. So one thing I will teach me definitely is patience, more patience. I was not very patient. To do breathing, you need to be patient, but I was not very patient in the very beginning. So I would do teach me to slow down, to see the things from another perspective and wait, because time fixes everything. Time fixes everything, it does. And yeah, with a little bit of patience, I'm sure I probably would do the same mistakes and everything, but I would do it enjoying what I was doing, because I also, Steve Jobs said that it's easier to put the dots together looking back, right? So I couldn't tell at that time, but if I would teach me something, would be patience.
Thank you very much, Enid. We have another one. Are the leaders you have encountered in your career path who have influenced you in your own leadership style? Are there leaders you have encountered that have influenced you in your own leadership style?
Yes, my first supervisor in Cuba, it was completely selfless, and he involved us in all his projects. He pushed us to develop ourselves, and so I like that type of leadership. I really think that you can increase your impact if you impact the life of others, and then you don't care about going ahead yourself. That type of leadership is one that I identify a lot with. And the other one is my latest leaders, Dr. Dieter Nulitze, that we unfortunately lost a couple of weeks ago, and the president of Agronomix, and other leaders within the organization as well. So they are all about inclusion and all about diversity. In Agronomix, we are 16 people, I think 16 employees. We are from all over the world. We are from different places. We speak like, I don't know, something like 12 different languages. And it's incredible to see how every person contributes in a different way to the conversation. So something I have learned from my present organization is to listen to the diversity. It's incredibly important, especially in breeding. So people from different backgrounds, imagine that they come from different crops. They have experience in different crops, in different areas. Some people come from the desert. Other people have lived in Canada their entire lives. So everybody see the same problem from different angles. So this is another thing that another leadership that I enjoy a lot, is to work over the diversity of your team and see the problems and solve the problem from very different viewpoints.
Sure. I think we have a couple of more questions for you, Enid. How important are connections with other women scientist colleagues in supporting your career and fulfillment?
It's very, very, very important. I think I didn't always have good leaders, female leaders. Now that I can look back, I think that it comes from a lot of self issues, right? Like people who didn't know how to put themselves on, or they thought because you were a woman, you wouldn't, and you were equal, you won't respect them as if it was a man. But at the same time, I have found a lot of women facing issues, and I have sit with them, I have talked to them, and we have found common ground that help each other, like seeing everyone's perspective about the same problem. For example, I remember when I first landed in Canada and I started doing my PhD. I was a part-time and I was working full-time in the lab, and I came across these two girls who were working for somebody else, and they both had PhD from other countries. One was from Iran and another one was from Pakistan. So they were asked to start doing master's studies, and one of them just gave up. We talk a lot. The three of us sit together to bring like brainstorming about our situation. One of them decided to give up, but the other one now is a successful professor, right? So she started her master's, and then occasionally somebody said, okay, this person doesn't need to do this, right? Why don't you pass her directly to PhD? So we joke that we do PhDs and masters because we enjoy to be at school. So, but in between jokes, we support each other, right? In our challenge. In my case, I had not finished my PhD in Cuba. I almost did, but I didn't. But she had finished it. So we somehow complemented each other. We support each other. We studied together. So it's very important to bring your problems, not to everybody, but to those professionals that are alike. You can discuss with them and found, if you don't find a solution to your issues, at least you can find help or somebody who can listen to you, and then you feel at least relief from the load that you don't know where to go.
Right. Are there any pieces of advice or insights you could share with male scientists and colleagues who also want to help advance gender equity in the workplace?
Yes. So it's the same again. Just give a voice to your coworkers. If you feel something is not right, probably say it. Say it out loud. If something is going on, like for example, if there is some opportunities that you can share with that person, you can probably tell her that did you hear about this opportunity? Don't keep it to yourself, because sometimes these people are not interested in management or in advancing or in going here or there. Sometimes people are not interested, but sometimes people didn't have, again, the opportunity to know about those opportunities. So probably just share information, try to support them in the best way that you can. Sometimes people face challenges I don't know, some people don't have issues to learn or have problems, personal problems. So you can approach them and make them to feel heard. So that would be one of the things that they can do. And if you have a partner who is in science or in any other place, also you can support them. As I mentioned, I won't be thankful enough for my partner for all the support he has given me through the years. I'm a person who wanted a career, but I also wanted a family. Some people need to choose between both of them. I didn't need to do that because I had my partner who supported me. So if you have a partner, probably go and support them as well, not just a colleague, but your partner is very important as well.
Thank you, Enid. And the last question is, what can organizations like CIMIT do to help grow women leaders in science?
So again, I guess CIMIT probably have a limited management structure, right? There are the positions that are there and that's it. But leadership is not about management, just about management. So probably can foment some kind of this kind of seminars, for example, is good for leadership because people can find their own voices and find or discover things they can do to leader in their area, right? So this kind of seminars is super interesting, and also create a support network for women is something that definitely will be. But I'm sure you guys have it. So do you, right? I see a lot of women in CIMIT all the time. Every time I'm exploring social media, I see a lot of women. So I trust that this has been taken care of.
Thank you very much, Enid. We would like to really thank you for your time, for sharing with
Thank
us your
you.
outstanding and professional and personal journey too. And on behalf of Dr. Bram Goberts and CIMIT, we thank you so much for your valuable time and for being here today. Also, we thank our audience that joined. Do not miss our following Catalyst of Change Women Leaders in Science series in 2 weeks. Have a nice day, nice evening, and thank you very much.
Honor to be here.
Okay, for me, agriculture innovation, it's about newness. Newness in the sense that people have to think differently. We need, creative thinking. We need new ways of doing business because we still sitting with, zero hunger challenges. So it encourages, different people to think differently. It could be in the area of policies, it could be in the area of education. It cannot be business as usual. We have to be creative, we have to come up with new ideas, we have to do things in the manner that we have not done it before. And that requires thinking outside the box. We need creativity, we need different partnerships.
Please join our next seminar in the Catalyst of Change series.